Welcome, everybody. This is a small audience, which is great, in a good-sized room. We'll do quick introductions here. Thank you all for moving up a little closer. We want this to be interactive as we go through our conversation today. But we've got two wonderful, wonderful people with me today, great industry leaders. First, Artesha Moore. I'll let her introduce herself in just a few minutes. She's the President and CEO of Association Forum, which is in the nonprofit world and our association world, the SAE of Chicago. And how many members you have now? 45,000?
I wish. It's just under 3,000 at this point.
Just under 3,000. Mm-hmm. And Jeff Cobb, co-founder of Tagoras, and we'll let him do an introduction here in just a few minutes. Great learning strategist and has been in this world for a lifetime. And thought y'all would enjoy a great conversation and some time to have some Q&A as we're going along as well. I'm Mark Jones. I'm the Global Director of Membership and Associations at Learn Upon. I'm a CAE as well as Miss Artesha as well, and a FASAE as well. And, this is such an important mission for us from the business standpoint, focusing our area in the nonprofits and the associations and really talking about different language and thinking about what's happening with the entire audiences that we deal with in an entire day. And every sector, every industry in the world we touch. Millions and millions of people through our associations and our outreach and our nonprofits and our outreach. And what a great opportunity to really listen about what the new frontier looks like, what's happening in the associations, what's happening in our every aspect of life that we deal with in adult education and just in general in the organizations and what challenges that they're facing with. So let Artesha, we'll let you introduce yourself. Tell us a little about Artesha and let this audience know who you are because what a great background and experience that you have. And I always love hearing a new story.
All of the things. So I'm Artesha Moore. I have been in association management almost 30 years. I'm a technology strategist and I've done most of my work in STEM and spent the last 15, 17 years in workforce development. I think for me, the intersection here that I loved and I said yes right away when asked to be here is the power of education to change industries, right? So I worked my way up from clerk. I was telling someone at breakfast that we had a dictaphone, and so young people, that is like a pedal type typewriter. And now that technology is Word. And because of learning and access to learning through associations and beyond, has made it so that I could be the CEO in my dream job. So today, I'm here to learn from y'all, for real. I'm not an educator. If anything, I'm a hustler, reforming capitalist. I drive strategies in millions for associations around learning and the power and the business of learning. So that's me. And I love, may the force be with you. It is Star Wars week. We had a holiday on Monday. Yay, go Jedis. Let's get it. Okay, yay, Jeff.
So I'm Jeff Cobb. I'm a co-founder of Tagoras and of Leading Learning, which is our kind of education and publishing initiative from that. And I fell into this world. I started in academia thinking I was going to be a professor many years ago and then fell into the world of e-learning and adult learning during the dot-com boom of the 90s, which there are probably some people out here who weren't even born at that point or were very, very little at that point. I'm aging myself greatly. But exciting time, a lot of frenzy then. I mention it because there was a ton of frenzy then, like there is now, around AI. A big bubble built up and burst back then, which everybody's afraid of now. And of course, a lot has changed about technology, about our understanding about learning over those 30 years. So I feel fortunate to have lived through all of that and seen all of that evolution. Most of that time has been working with associations, which I also sort of fell into, which probably many of you did too. Nobody grows up thinking I'm going to go work for an association, but that's the world that I've been in. And we talk about what we characterize as the third sector of learning, which is, when you're done with your primary, elementary, high school education, that's that level of education, K through 12, and you're done with your higher education, if you're lucky enough to get it, and most people in the United States are still not lucky enough to get that, then you've got this whole third sector which lasts for the next 50 to 60 years. And that is the space of associations. That is where associations can shine and support learning. And so that's why we've really been focused on that, dedicated to that, have seen things evolve over the years. I'll mention, I just saw Brendan backstage, and I knew Brendan when he was at, I won't name the other company, a long time ago when I first met him. And I think that he was at that other company the last time I saw him in person. And in the meantime, he's gone off and built all of this, which is fantastic to see, because we need great technology providers in the space. So great to be here today.
Artesha, take us a little bit down, where we're sitting in the landscape of the just associations today and nonprofits, and kind of where you see and some of the challenges that are out there. Because I think as we set the foundation for what the new frontier looks like, where we're moving, just want to get some, have the audience have a little insights of what you're seeing with all of our associations that you deal with day to day, and just, looking beyond that too, as we look at what's happening in higher ed and what's happening in the workforce development, what's happening to really advance the professions that we serve.
We're living out right now what has started to play out in 2018. So I do want to, as a futurist and a strategist, this isn't, it sounds loud. It sounds very loud, AI, right? But in 2018, we saw a shift in enrollment rates in higher education, in STEM. So play that out to the grown-ups coming now. They're leaning into what my parents were, which is almost vocational level learning, skills to pay the bills, right? Like this kind of energy. So what associations are struggling with, and what I've been talking about with them, is the word actual professional. Because in some aspect, over 40 years, professional meant this degree and that degree and this degree. But you all in the tech space and LMS have empowered the skills to pay the bills. Well, now I need to redefine who gets in, how do they get in, how do we learn it? Because we're not now competing with every sector. I don't care what group you're with. I've been in association management for 30 years. Every sector is competing with a tech bro who has the answer. So how do you compete with that? If you're the National Education Association, I was with the American Geophysical Society and Union at AGU. They are scientists. Guess what? They're dealing with tech bros that are bringing young people on the ground in indigenous learning with LMS systems and changing the world. So we're all in this space right now. That monetized community ain't gonna pay the bills. That's, I don't know if you guys call it something different. It's called membership in my industry. Meetings. This is a multi-million-dollar industry. So I think right now we are in an inflection point that has been, we've been on the cusp of it for 15 years, we're living it. And this is now, I think, the power of adult learning at great speeds to help people not just pay the bills, but dare I say, change the world.
Changing the world. That's what we do every day in the association world. Jeff, just from your perspective, before we kind of dive into some different topics, just what is the landscape that you're seeing in the strategic conversations that you're having with your customers today, and just a few key points of where they're struggling, where they're finding it, and it doesn't have to be just about learning. Just thinking about what they're doing as organizations, and we'll think about how learning ties to that and how we're going to have to move it forward.
Well, those words, relevance and value, have been echoing certainly through the association sector, and I think broadly, for a long time now. How are you actually providing that to the people that you're serving? And I think to pick up a little bit on what Artesha was saying, what's happening with learning now is learning has become so episodic in many ways. It's these short bursts of learning to solve this problem, to solve that problem. And if you frame that in the nice terms, that's just in time. That sounds great. We all want just in time learning, but it's really kind of firefighting learning in a lot of instances. So what is the source of continuity in that? And if you are a learning provider, to the extent that you can provide the continuity from a career perspective, from a meaning perspective across those learning experiences, you're going to be much more valuable. You're going to be much more relevant to learners. And when we work with organizations, I was here earlier this week to work with a client who's very typical of what we're seeing right now, where they're having a lot of issues with what I would characterize as portfolio agility. Like not how quickly can you build it. AI is making it very possible to build things very fast right now, which is kind of a problem because anybody can build things fast, and so you got all this stuff out there. It's more about how do you rapidly make decisions about what you're going to build that actually fits into that sort of continuity, to that pathway for your audience. How do you make decisions about what you're going to continue to invest in? And most of all, and this is particularly painful in the association world, but I'm sure others feel it as well, what do you sunset? What do you get rid of? What do you get out of that portfolio? And those aren't technology decisions. Those are strategy decisions. Those are tough leadership decisions that if you don't have that in place, if you don't have both the strategy and then the commitment and the culture and the buy-in around the strategy, the technology is not going to matter. You're just going to get yourself in a mess, basically. So you've got to have that.
Oh, that's strategy, definitely. I think, that's where a lot of organizations are struggling. They're just trying, with limited staff, limited resources, trying to get things out the door, trying to cover an entire audience across the entire sector, from people that are just entering in to people that are in the later stages of their career, different personas that we deal with all over the associations and the nonprofits. How do we get there? One of the things that, as we were having some of our conversations early on, really thinking about agility. And Jeff, you mentioned, internal friction, around volunteer structures and limited staff capacity as well. Talk to us a little bit about what that internal friction looks like today, and what do we see, how do we see that when we think about governance as well? Because when I think about our associations, the strategy comes from the board of directors, and the staff executes what that strategy looks like. And if our governance bodies typically are more senior professionals within the industry that they serve, and the mindset that, as I've been listening to our conversations and all of our conferences that we go to and such, that the association leadership is a little adverse to AI, as one example. And just thinking about that, are we going to get ourselves into an area of issues with governance because we can't move quick enough? We can't keep up with the pace of the rest of the audiences that are vying for that constituent or member to engage in learning. Thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think it's a real danger. I think it tends to get accentuated in the association world. I'm going to assume that this is an issue really with anybody who's trying to create learning content. But anytime you're trying to sort of come together, pull knowledge together to create a formal, structured sort of learning experience, you got to have a lot of different points of agreement around that. And if you're an association, you're going to have committees, you're going to have subject matter experts. You can't not have those things because you exist for the members. Like you're supposed to be, channeling their voice and their needs. But what doesn't happen in so many organizations is a real clear definition. Well, first of all, you got to have the strategy. But then once you got the strategy, a real clear definition around what the roles and the responsibility and the points of accountability are around that. We actually did a podcast episode on this just a couple episodes ago, if anybody wants to go look it up on the Leading Learning podcast. But you have to have somebody who's really looking at the data points that you have, who's responsible for getting the data points and saying, this is important, this is what we need to be looking at. And yes, it needs to come from committees, it needs to come from subject matter experts, but there needs to be one person who says, I'm orchestrating this, here's where it is. And there needs to be somebody who says, and here's what we make from that. Here's how we make the decisions about what to make. They may be the same person, they may be different persons, but it has to be somebody. And then you got to have the people who make it, and is really driving that process, creating things efficiently and quickly. And then you got to have the people who get it out to market and make it perform. And there has to be clear responsibility, clear accountability all along that chain. And I'll ask the folks in the audience to think about your own organization. Is that there? Is it really clear what that chain is, who's responsible for each part of it, and who's accountable for it, and how that accountability actually comes to have meaning? What are the results of not proving accountable for whatever you're supposed to be accountable for?
Sitting on both sides of it, I serve on the board of directors right now for a nonprofit group, and I'm a CEO of an association of associations, and I've been staff. So here's what I'm going to do on this stage with my blue boots, is I'm going to say the quiet part out loud. That sounds great.
Right.
That's so wonderful.
How
How do you make it happen?
Child. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna say, okay? Because Mark knew, I was, hear this. We have a permission-based governance system, period. Point blank, hard stop. Board says yes, they serve for 3 years. Maybe a term that they can come on 6 years. Every third year, it's a new group. Nothing happens. The committee takes this, the board doesn't want to take a risk. Oh, because I'm seeing the heads nodding right now. Okay, let me sit up straight. And the board takes a risk. No, we're going to have to invest 500,000, a million, 2 million, such and such in order to modernize. We're going to have to let go of, dare I say it, signature events and this and that, right, in order to fund the future. Oh no. We're going to have to let other people in the boardroom. Oh no. Right, did I say that out loud? Yes, that. So as we look at a strategy, here's the truth. I'm going to market every 9 months because I have to compete with LinkedIn. And if you don't think that you're competing with them, think again. Insert industry. Jeff is up here, he about to compete with you too. Because the other thing that I can do is use not just LLMs, right? I can build agents to pull content from every one of your industries and Lovable to create an app this weekend while I'm watching The Mandalorian. So what am I doing now? I'm becoming the whole chain. I'm 50 years old. I'm old as it compares to my nieces and nephews. They're gonna be doing that in real time in 18 months. And you want them to join a system that asks for permission? It can't be. You have the talent and ideas right now. You're going to have to fail forward for your mission. And none of your missions and associations say build bigger memberships, unless you're in union. My husband works in hospitality. There's unions. Yes, build better labor unions if that's the thing, I don't know. For us, it's not build membership, it's not grow the annual meetings. Those are metrics that are set, dare I say it, in 2018. We need to be to market in 9 months. We need to have a partner that can help us. And yes, you need to listen to your members. Who is buying your product? Because those are different people. Right now, my members are individuals that want to drive change. Their employers buy my product.
Right.
So child, as much as my staff want to have a party, come to Women's Exec, it is a party. We have a men's executive forum too, man in, it's a party. It's a party of community, purpose, and those things, right? But when you go there, you're gonna get something that you can learn with, grow with, do something with, because your boss is investing time, money, and effort for you to come back and drive change. The last thing I'll say, because I don't talk all day, I have thoughts. The last thing I'll say about this is that association leadership, CEOs in the room, chief learning officers, all of that, get rid of the idea of an education program calendar. Bye with that. What is the competency in 5 years that you're trying to build to? Do you have a pathway to get there? If not, getting this thing on the calendar and getting the marketing out for that, I don't even read emails no more. I will if you send it, Mark, because I love it.
I text you.
You do, child, because that's where I'm at. My mama texts me. So if you are spending a marketing plan and an email calendar and a such and such and you're getting out there, that is not going to help them get skills to pay the bills. Talk to who needs to be there. Get into the room where not just students and this and that and your members. Who ain't your member? Where do they buy their content at? Do you have a subscription to that? If not, pull out your phone and get a subscription to your competitor right now. You have the ideas. We need to stop asking permission and start using real intelligence and try stuff every 9 to 12 months. And if your board isn't ready to do that, get with your governance committee to get the competency so that they can.
Amen.
Yay.
Jeff, thoughts on that one?
Well, I mean, one thing that jumped out at me immediately as Artesha was talking about is the importance of employers And employers, of course, are a proxy for the employment market, basically for workforce development, for careers. And so many organizations, for-profit or nonprofit, they're really focused on that individual learner and how do we do things that are interesting to the individual learner. And yes, you have to provide that. You have to provide a compelling learning experience that moves the dial. But it doesn't matter if the employer doesn't really care about the outcomes of that. We see so many organizations that'll stand up, credentials, certificates, badges, whatever, put it out there because that's the new trendy thing to do. If an employer does not recognize any value in that badge, certificate, whatever, it is worthless. You're wasting your time. People are not going to buy it. So again, it's not about faster, 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 more, more, more. It's about stepping back and saying, how do we really serve what needs to be served here? And I think there's a fundamental underlying question. I'd love to hear your perspective on this, Artesha. There's always a little bit of a tension between, are we serving the member or are we serving the profession and field that we represent as an association? Are we there to be a steward of that profession, of that field? And by doing that, we are serving the members. But to make it all about the member, you can sort of lose the forest for the trees pretty quickly.
You better preach. You better say it loud all the way. That's why when I did do strategy, I would ask and make sure that every session that I go in, we read the mission. Because when you get in there, I've been studying, I didn't bring them up here, I was about to grab them, my Buddha beads. I've been studying Buddhism for the last 5 years, deepening my practice and being present. Words matter. Words mean things, they have energy, they have connection. I tell these beautiful gentlemen, we've been on Zoom just being together. I love the energy of it, right? People don't know what the mission is. They get on that board and say, look, I've been waiting for 10 years. I'm gonna tell them about this.
My agenda.
Come on,
I got
my membership thing. We're about to do it. Child, somebody else is already doing that. What is our mission? Our mission is to future our profession. So I, beautiful woman here that keeps bumping my mic, I told him in the back I was gonna do that. I was gonna knock it off. 50 years ago, in the 70s, that's not, in the 60s and 50s, although that could be it too, but in the 70s, there were professional societies that I couldn't be a member of. I'm a woman, I'm a black woman in America, right? So when you say be about the members, who that is? Because I couldn't even be there. So who isn't there today? A lot of the young people that we've been trying to court for 30 years, every membership team that I've led tried to get at students, child. But if it has value, it isn't that they don't want to pay. Do you know how many recurring subscriptions that Rocket Money told me that I have? A lot. I like content, I have a lot. I will pay for it. When I was a secretary, there was an association that had a course, so I paid for it. I will pay for the membership, I will pay for the thing, so that's not the problem. I think what you said also is there. The employer, just because most associations have really great content, they want to do something with it. Put it online, ain't nobody buying it, make a community, they already on LinkedIn, we got all this other thing, but then they will build a certificate and not validate it to the employer. Not give it to the employer and say, tell us if your people 3 years from now actually changed your organization and were able to do it. I have validation for the things that we invested in at the farm.
And by the way, help us build the certificate in the first place. So,
Come on. What do you actually need? I need them to know how to turn on the computer. Bet, let's put that in there. But instead, what happens is I'm a fellow of my industry, so when we get together as fellows, you know what we do, pontificate. Right? I mean, you ain't gotta act like that. Yes, we do, a little bit. But when I think about what it is that we're trying to do, I read a book, I don't know if I can say stuff on here, Mark didn't tell me that, but I read a book called Abundance a few years ago, and Ezra Klein and Derek Thompson rocked my world. I don't care what your politics are, go read it today, this weekend. What it showed me was the opportunity. When I talk to 18-year-olds, 20-year-olds, 27-year-olds, I don't know a lot of them, I don't have kids, but they're not talking about membership. They're not even talking about capitalism. I'm like, how y'all gonna make money? What they're talking about is solving real things. if we don't figure out how to move to the field, model the future that is in 5 years, once they have their first superconductor that's open access, it's done. We'll talk about that in the break, right? The Terminator prequel. It's done. But right now, is there something that your association, your company and association and a young person could build that could advance cancer research in the next 18 months? Go do that. Open up the membership, open up the whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but this field is important. The mission is important. Everybody's not at the table, but as you give access and opportunity and learning and build to where they're going, more people will come to the table, I think. And that's what we want to survive.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the future of our workforce and really thinking about AI. Definitely AI is fundamentally remaking, changing the market landscape and the employee landscape. We're seeing job displacement, especially in sectors like tech. We saw that just this last week or so with Oracle, 30,000 people out. A lot of those are probably software engineers and other people that are in that. Thinking about the associations and what their responsibilities are for the mission, for their members, what is that, how do we proactively engage with the employers now to help that narrative?
We have to engage with the employers and policy. One of the things that we do as associations is lobby, period. We need to lobby our governments and the real money, which is in tech right now, to invest in workforce development broadly. We're at a place right now where we are moving into a deeply human AI integrated agentic workforce, period. When I told my board in 2024 that I didn't need an administrative assistant, they thought that I was just, skin in the game, talking about sunsetting, right? Looking at the workforce. I'm a technologist. Why would I need that? That person could be driving she's a governance expert and driving real governance change at a medical association now. That's where we are. I just started with my introduction to say I was a secretary, and the dictaphone that I was getting paid hourly rate to take this little tape and type is now in Word that we all pay a subscription fee to Microsoft for. But if somebody didn't invest in me to learn, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. So the workforce that's offloaded, we need to first as associations band together, fight for humanity, workforce, and those things. Yeah. The next thing, with that said, many of us, even in the innovation systems and in associations right now, I read another book, I read all the time, I ain't got no kids, called Nexus.
Also good, yeah.
Child, that book just got me together. So Nexus, one of the things that I loved is how he took the history of information and bureaucracy. What we actually do was because they needed bureaus to hold documents. Think about it. So we have an industry right now of associations that is really document, because that's what my association management is. I steward the governance of the organization, documents, files, the various things. I bring the members in and give them access to these things, and I keep records of what the members do, and I do this other piece. That was done in 2018, not 2026, 2018. Now they're building more and more operations to do that. So we need to figure out employers, and I'm speaking loudly, we can't bring back the industrial revolution of thinking of how money is made. My baby sister watches Star Trek every night, The Next Generation, because she's newer than me. There won't be currency the way that we have it in 8 years, trust me. So what we need to do, not futuristic, meaning we won't have money. I'm just saying, I went to the bank with my mom in the 80s because there wasn't widespread ATM we're now in a place that my husband is a chef and he keeps talking to me about his little bit of Bitcoin. If you don't get out of my face.
There's hardly currency now. My kids
Child,
carry no cash.
No cash.
They've never been in a bank.
Wait a minute. So that's what I'm just talking about. So when I think about the future of workforce, we're at AI right now. Employers need to stop playing because their boards are the ones telling them to cut and do this other thing and cut jobs and we need to make money. Y'all got enough money. You're not going to be able to spend it anyway. You're not going to, did y'all hear that the space mission is going to be $100 million for the rich people to go and live in space? Did you hear about this? It's ridiculous. You're not going to be able to spend it any damn way. Give it to the people so that they can do some of the things like maybe, I don't know, solve climate change.
I personally think we're at a moment where associations really could be the rock stars. They could shine, they could be the leaders, because you mentioned the word policy in there, Artesha, and I'm not going to talk politics, because I don't think it's politics per se. Like, what is happening with AI, the change that's creating, and all the change that was already happening before AI came along that is now being amplified, already is impacting every field and industry, and it is poised to have major impact on every field and industry. I don't know if the massive layoffs that are being predicted are going to happen or not, but I do know things are going to change in every profession and industry. They're going to change massively, and this may be a little bit political, but I think we have a Congress that is not doing its job, that is not talking seriously about policy. And all those advocates at associations and the thinkers at associations could be helping to drive that process because they are in the employment markets. They do or should have the relationship with the employers. There should be a vibrant conversation going on about what does this mean, what is going to happen, how do we prepare for this collectively. And of course, learning is a huge part of that. How learning is going to evolve to support whatever is going to happen as a result of what we're experiencing right now. Because I don't know what they are. I'm not the futurist that you are, but big changes are afoot. And it's time for some part of our society to step up to a major leadership position, and I think associations are primed to do that.
Well, and that's where we've lived. So Association formed a study as celebrating a 110-year anniversary. Many times in American, associations are an American construct, right? They are an American construct. And so when we think about what drives government, it usually is the people that make the government move, not the other way around.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's the associations or the unions or the groups or the activists or whatever it is that really start to change the pieces. So I agree. Associations have this opportunity right now to partner with, dare I say, industry. So ever since this, when I signed up for ChatGPT, I think that was in maybe 23, right? Like early 23, and I was like, can I build something? Like what, let me see what it's doing. And when I started to play with it, I thought, well, let me learn about when other big shifts happen. So I studied the 30 Years' War after the printing press in the 1500s, right? Like what information. I studied the Industrial Revolution. The partnership of money and technology always drove humanity, child. So associations, people, and money, tech folks, could really push something. But right now, the government is still trying to figure out the king and queens of bureaucracy, how to stay relevant to. So I think that we have an opportunity to work together quickly to do some things.
Advocacy is going to be extremely
Huge.
important. Jeff, you mentioned something in one of our earlier talks, and I want to kind of touch on this point as well, and definitely government. Two things of barriers to educational growth, workforce development, things of that nature. But, thinking about the digital noise, you talked about the digital noise before in one of our conversations, and just thinking about, those signals, the noise challenges that are out there, a fractured attention span and economy that we're dealing with. How do you see associations moving beyond just the content to have that high value signal, if you will, and really where members can prioritize that over all the digital distractions? I mean, you talked about Artesha too, LinkedIn and stuff. Just thinking about that, anything that resonates and how we get past that.
Yeah, that whole,
By the
you put it in better words than I did. That whole idea of the clarity of signal, I think is so important. Artesha, you mentioned Ezra Klein earlier with abundance, and I'm a bit of a Ezra Klein super fan, I'll admit, but the flip side of abundance is scarcity. And he had a column just last week where he talked about the importance of scarcity right now. Like if you're looking for how things are going to change and where things are going to flow, look for what's becoming scarce as a result of everything that's happening with AI. We know there's plenty of content out there. We've been talking about that. All sorts of content to deal with, all that digital noise that you just referenced, Mark. So how do you cut through that? I mean, what is scarce is clarity. What is scarce is credibility. How do you know what really the right stuff is? What is scarce is reassurance. How do I know I'm making moves that actually are going to pay off for me down the line? There's just fundamental trust in the sources that you're going to and the guidance that you're seeking. And I mean, that's an area where certainly associations have always played a role. I think any learning provider can potentially play this role, where if you look at the combination of knowledge, the body of knowledge across a field or industry, if you look at the ability to set standards across a field or industry, implicitly or explicitly. I mean, you may not be a standards development organization, you may not have a certification or a credential, but many associations have one or both of those things. But even implicitly, as an association, you're typically setting some sort of standard for your profession or industry, at least if you're doing your job. And then if you combine that, the body of knowledge with the standard setting, with the ability to convene a community that actually cares about those things, where those things matter, where it's meaningful to that group of people, that triumvirate, I don't think any other type of organization can really pull together in the way that an association can. I mean, LinkedIn Learning can't do that. AI generically can't do that. So that helps to provide that point of, we talk about credibility capital. Those three things combined together sort of create credibility capital in a way that only an association can.
Well, thinking about just associations taking that full leadership. They've got the body knowledge, they've got the best experts. Education continues to go forward. Thinking about higher ed for a second. Do we see I saw my university kick out a program out of Texas, in the DFW area, on aviation. Specifically skilled for aviation. I thought, that's interesting. Definitely going after now not only a younger market moving into that, but specific, almost skill-based, competency-based in a particular area, domain that's not your traditional coursework that you would see. Where do we see the association and nonprofit taking that opportunity that's coming when we talk about not only workforce development, but seeing, Chris had a lot of great things yesterday talking about people coming into the classroom, nurses, people in nursing track, people in the financial tracks and business school tracks within the organization, and coming and taking a non-agreed class and volunteer class and coming in, 1,000 people showing up in there. But I think that's unique. I'm not hearing in the education, it's more, let's not use AI, let's not do these things, and trying to be more experiential too. The universities are trying to get toward a workforce that people are looking for skills coming out, right? Are we seeing that there's an opportunity for associations, for those individuals that can't pay now the hundreds of thousands of dollars that it goes to go to a university or college, or even some of the community colleges that are there? Do we see associations having an opportunity to really fill that gap and be the learning hub and the educational hub, even for those that are coming into the marketplace in a different way than we would before?
Yes.
I have two perspectives on this. One, something we've focused on for quite a while now is the opportunities for partnerships between academia and associations, which, a lot of associations have some sort of loose affiliation with maybe some of the major universities that are that provide people to their field or industry. But there's not this sense of working together to provide that continuity that we talked about earlier, to provide that pathway to onboard people into the profession from whatever they happen to do in academia. There's just a lot of opportunity there. Takes work. It's significant relationship development, business development, visioning together to be able to do that. So that's one side of it. And I think both associations and academia need to step up their game in those sorts of partnerships. The aviation type program you're talking about, obviously there are aviation associations that it would be very valuable to have involved
yes.
in that sort of thing. The other question though, and I think it's more to your point, is could associations replace college? Which, I first posed that question many years ago and did some thinking and writing about it, and I keep coming back to it. And a way that I would rephrase it now is a time-concentrated, degree-based approach to learning the best way to prepare somebody for a profession and maintain them through the profession? And in so many instances, the answer to that is no. It's not always no, but in many instances, it is no. And even when it is yes, there are ways in which even the most highly skilled of associations, they often have the subject matter experts who are the people who would be in the universities anyway, but also have the field industry experience to bring to bear. I mean, this would be thinking a lot bigger. The client I was sitting with earlier this week, the CEO, one of the things she said during the session was, I'm just afraid we don't think big enough most of the time. That's one of her main concerns, and I think that is a question right now. As associations, are we thinking big enough? Could we actually be, really changing the paradigm here?
Yeah. Go ahead.
There are so many thoughts. The reason why I said yes to your original and what you were saying too, let me unpack a little bit. First, yes. But not in the model of us plus this is this. Mm-hmm. We work together and then your business school works with the Association of Business Schools to do this other thing. Child, no. Right now, we're still treating each other like we're competitors.
Right.
And instead of saying the quiet part out loud, we're both irrelevant. We need to get together like Voltron. Because we ain't gonna make it.
Yeah.
Industry 1, Industry 2. The 17-year-olds in 2018 already said that. I was on a strategic planning board for the National Science Board for their strategic plan. When I saw the data, it was already there. 17-year-olds were like, but are they interested in aviation and science and this and this and this? Look at the rise of Coursera. That showed all of us Apple's free content in universities. You know who was quick to get their stuff out there? Harvard. Because they understood that what we're leaning towards right now is ways to think, a culture of thinking. I like deep stuff. I am not a scientist. I read Scientific American. Every issue, I like it. It's something. I'm curious. And would I join the association of no, child. But if they had a course about how I could understand what the meta sciences or chemicals and asteroids, whatever, I just read Project Hail Mary. Y'all, get your life, okay? Amazed. Okay, I think there's an opportunity for us to figure out people-led experiences at a university and big thinking things, because AI is going to free up time to think. I want to use tools and ask questions. My staff uses Copilot right now like a glorified Google. I'm their boss. So you know what I do? Rip them to shreds, child. Like, what is this? I got 4 personas that are just eating y'all alive. I'm trying to help them think. They have content, they're on the train, they're doing such and such, they're getting this. How do we at university, we need to survive. So we need to move from competition to cooperation over the fight for relevance. Universities have way more data than we do, especially the big ones. The systems. There's associations and nonprofits. Now I'm going to say the bigger umbrella because we have a partnership with the Center for Creative Leadership. They're a globally renowned, leadership development training. We partner with them as a professional society. They partner with university theorists and thinking. Now we're being able to give that at a fraction of the price to my members, access to that. I didn't create it. I'm not creating it. Now we all have relevance in a new marketplace. That's what I think right now. So when I think about associations that are doing some piece of the deeper research and they're funding the research, how do they work with university to maybe open the pool for more money to give design challenges together? To go out and do some of the things like Ezra said, right? Fund this other thing and say, we'll buy it on the other end. Now you've created something that isn't just survival, it's relevant. University, association, industry, boom, design challenge, y'all build it. We'll buy it. That could be something.
That would be great. I know we've got about 15 minutes left, and I want to open it up a little bit to the audience.
Let's
I didn't grab a handheld mic, but I think we're
run
close
around
enough.
and be Oprah, go. We're in Chicago, baby, let's get it. No, who was the other one? Donahue,
I know
get
it. I know some of you may have some questions, and it's pretty live in here. You can ask, we'll
You can
repeat
ask
the
the same
question,
thing.
but yeah, what's on your mind? What challenges are you facing? What are your thoughts? What are your questions about some of the future of your organization and what it looks like? Who wants to ask? Gordon, they talked about standards up here, setting standards. You're in an organization that sets standards for fans, louvers, HVAC.
That definitely resonated with me because we're building a credentialing program. And I firmly believe in it because we do set standards in the industry. And I think we do have that authority to issue credentials. So, yeah, that resonated with me a lot.
Hi, I'm from MEA. We are the teachers union, and as we were talking about partners, we actually have some of our state affiliates that have started apprenticeships. What you're really describing are apprenticeships.
Yep,
Right?
yep.
Like on-the-job training. It made a little more. It was easier transition because from a union perspective, because that's where it originated from. But it has not been common in teaching. Only in the last 5 years has that been a thing. And so we have been trying to figure out how to become a part of that and become more. So I think the words you're really talking about are apprenticeships.
Yeah, I think that it depends on your industry too, but yes, absolutely. So I grew up in the military, and in Germany, they had different paths. So for the US at that time, it was only go to college. You get a profession at college. But they had a vocational system that had apprenticeships, that had different vocational kind of opportunities, whatever the case is. And this is in the 80s. Right? So whereas the US, we were on a track that needed to have tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars in order to then go do, it was this kind of put your things on, whether it's vocational school, whether it's mentorship programs, apprenticeship programs. The piece is right now, it goes back to also employers. Teachers are in a beautiful inflection point like association professionals, because where learning is happening, where people signing up for the different courses and those things are happening, there's still an art and a science to being a teacher. The resilience of taking on various energies. Apprenticeship helps you learn on the job, things that university in a sterile doesn't get you prepared to deal with the kids of now. I was just with my family. Kids is different. But learning needs to happen. So I love apprenticeship, and I love that you all already have a model. It's messy on the national level, right, to get everybody together, because Montana is very different than Virginia. But I think that that's something, and I applaud the innovation.
Jeff, any comments?
I think apprenticeship, I think suffers from the perception that it can't be scaled. It's hard work, and that is true. There are ways to scale it. Obviously, you can be inventive about that, but you're only going to scale apprenticeship so much. It is always going to be a little limited. It's always going to be hard work. But to go back to things that are scarce, like some of those things that are hard to do that maybe aren't as scalable are where you need some focus right now, because it gives you those entry points into the industry, into the field, creates points of leverage for you that can then lead the way to more scalable things. But if you're not engaging people deeply, early on, you're not gonna keep them.
Other thoughts, questions from the audience? It's a great time to not only pick the brain, but just, yeah, Ben.
There was a comment made about universities and the fact that especially the larger and more established universities have all the content, all the data, and where we compete with that. I'm curious of opinions on the M&A on the nonprofit side. Like, how is this going to be impacted? Are associations going to continue a trend of merging some of these together and others swallowing, each other up to combine resources, or are they going to stay lean and learn to fight together? Like, is there an opinion on that?
The economics is making it that way. Both of us are losing by the boatloads. Participation, eyeballs, dollars, donors, and universities, especially the large system, have endowments. We don't have that. So I think that right now, what I'm loving about all of the things is that when your back is up against the wall, a beautiful American energy is to come out fighting. We don't survive for hundreds of years, both the institutions of universities and associations, without reimagining. With that said, everybody ain't gonna survive, and that's the truth. There was a lot of growth in the association marketplace in the 80s and 90s. I'm a medical society, but I only like blue boots, so only blue boots can join my doctor's union, and that's what we doing. And we got 1,000 people, and we taking over the Hyatt Regency Chicago bed. Now, child, all the doctors got to be together. We don't care if you got on boots or not. Let's go. That happened. It was a growth to 6,500 associations, professional societies. You've seen that shrink. The rise of AMCs, the rise of some of the other things. Look at graduation rates right now and what professions will be here at 2030. This is 2026. This is 4 years. We need to revamp, and the economics are making it. Some closings are making it. And then the change in access is making it. Technology did change access 30 years ago, and we're seeing it continue to play out. They don't need our systems in order to be relevant. I mean, not a 17-year-old, a 50-year-old. So, I like to hear more and more collaborations. And I'm the expert on the stage, not an expert, just a person on the stage. I want to hear from y'all. Y'all doing the work. So whether Mark calls you out by name because he knows everybody, or we talk in the hallway, I just want to hear what y'all are doing. That apprenticeships is the bomb. What else is happening? The credentialing is the bomb. I see you, come on.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very, very niche market.
Niche market, yeah.
And so that's why you just said, I wrote that comment. Not everybody will survive. So I'm starting to see, as we see the trends in students who are deciding, maybe college isn't the right path for me. It's already so difficult anyway for college students who have children to go to college. That's the whole point of the organization.
Yeah.
But we work, what I developed was a certificate program for colleges and universities, their staff and faculty members to complete, to be able to better understand this population. But we kind of work hand in hand with them, where it's all right, y'all, we'll give you this work that we've learned from working with the students themselves and best practices. We'll say that we're experts in that, give you these trainings, but then we ask that as a part of their contract, they report back and give us back the data that they find and collect, so that, that way we can reinforce that we have that expertise and we have the data from across the country from other institutions. But I'm kind of wondering how to further that impact, but also how, will it honestly become obsolete eventually? People should all, I'm a firm believer, but that's a higher ed in me. People should be furthering their education because nobody can take that from you. But, yeah, what do you think? Where are things going?
It's hard because it costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
And you don't make a lot of money. I don't care what profession you are in now. And so when you say a proposition that becomes $50,000 to $100,000 of debt, and I'm going to make $50,000 or $60,000 a year, it's a no for me, dog. You know what I mean? But you hit on something that I do love. This continuous data loop around what really is working in the real world and how to tweak it. But then also, I would say, as you all could shift, so one of the things that I do, I have a couple of models that I've built up for 100 years out, right? What's gonna be happening and what does it look like there and do you guys wear shoes and all of that. One of the things that I thought about is that the uniqueness of being a parent and doing anything. Working, giving, right? My sisters have kids and all of this. And so what you have is a whole bunch of data around what parents need in order to be successful, not at school, just in success. While we're still human creatures, we're going to procreate. Any employer that wants a diverse workforce could work with you. Come on, child, I'm giving you this money right now. They could work with Generation Hope to say, how do we make it better for young and mid-aged parents to be successful in our industry? Different, same essence of what you do, now wider market. That was just in 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. So I think that as you all think about the work that you do, use AI to push your thinking. Build a model that says, I watched Star Trek, and here it is, and I heard this black woman talk with ponytail about futures, and I want to build one. And they'll say, she don't know nothing, but here's what we know.
Beam me up, Scotty.
Exactly. Come on, you know what I mean? So I think but that's a way that you could think about, you have data, you have access, you have knowledge that people need. It aligns with the scarcity, wonderful parents that could give opportunity to any industry. Now you can bundle it and say, help the industry, help them.
Yeah, I mean, what I love is that you have niched down to a very clear, focused value proposition, which, you know, so many associations in particular, we know we're plagued with the be everything to everybody sort of thing. You're being a specific thing to a very specific population, and you've got a manageable data loop associated with that. So that's a magic combination,
like
whether you're in the association world or whether you're starting a business, a very clear value proposition and a manageable data loop. And then monitoring, because I think your worry about what's the value of college going forward going to be. I mean, we're still at a point where all the data tells us that college graduates do better economically over their lifetime, but I really think that data is running on fumes. I think we're going to see that flip at some point in the future. So you have to be monitoring that and be ready to pivot. But when you're focused and got that good data loop, you can pivot.
Yep.
It's the organizations that don't do that that end up buying each other up, like Ben was talking about, and everybody has to be absorbed and hope that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts that get put together, which is rarely the case. So.
Well, I know we've got about a minute or two left. We're going to continue this conversation in our next session, which will be sort of a repeat. But I think we've got a pretty good set of a quick Q&A and some things to start diving even deeper into some of the questions. This was a great, thank you all for the participation. And we want to thank Jeff and Artesha.
Thank you.
But thank you. If you'd like to join us back, we're going to continue the conversation in our next kind of repeat session. Some of it will be a little bit will be the same, but I think as anything, we kind of do these things off the fly. So welcome back. If you'd like to come, we can carry the conversation. If not, find another great session out there today. Thank you for showing up. Appreciate y'all taking your time and listening to two of our great experts in the field. So thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank y'all.